All right, everybody, let's begin.
Put my phone on silence.
Welcome to this session, special session today on Africa-Cuba connections and ancestral connections between Africa and Latin America. We have three different groups of people joining us today. One is our group of students, our wonderful Latin America in the World students. Another group we have are members of the public who've joined us as part of our roundtable series, in which this session on Africa-Cuba connections is one of the monthly roundtable discussions. And we have a third group as well, which is a group made up of people who will listen to this as a podcast, which will eventually release using excerpts from today's presentation. So some of those people will be online, some of them are in the room, and that reminds me I should check. Patricia, can the people online hear me okay? I think we have about 50 people with us altogether in the two online sessions that we're running. Could you give us a thumbs up or indicate somehow if you can hear? They're okay? Yeah. Great, and I assume you guys on this link can hear. Can you wave if you can see and hear me okay? All right, good. Well, the technology is working for once. This is what we need. So, you know, there are people from around the world in here, about, as I say, 50 people online from different countries around Asia, also in Latin America, the United States. And it reminds me of something that a friend of mine has often told me. My friend Kucha Edwards, an Aboriginal composer and singer. He likes to tell me that we are all indigenous people. He tells us that if we look at our ancestries, we can all trace our way back to a time before our connections with land and spirituality were shifted and changed and colonized. And it's important, therefore, to recognize, says Kucha, that we all walk on ancestral lands, on First Nation lands. Now we know here in the University of Melbourne, that's the case for us, who we walk on Wurundjeri lands. Wurundjeri, as you know, are the ethno-linguistic group where the University of Melbourne is located, stewards of this land, and one of 5 groups of the Kulin Nation. And as Kucha likes to tell me, the ancestral knowledge from his community, which is around the Lake Mungo region, about 7 hours drive north of here. The ancestral knowledge of his community is accessible to everybody, to all of us, but on the condition that we approach it with respect and with patience, that we recognize that that knowledge doesn't just jump out and embrace us, that we have to first of all take account of history and where we are, what's happened in these places. And for Kucha, you know, the message which really resonates with me, I think, is his idea that ancestry is bound up in the land itself, that the land contains our ancestors, the spirit of the ancestors, and it's recognizing that is the true acknowledgement of country. It's something that we can all do wherever we are as we travel the world and ask ourselves where we're walking and what kinds of impacts we may have and how to be respectful. It's a message that I think is going to kind of come through to the front today, because in the speakers, in the presentations that we're going to listen to, this idea of ancestry and understanding history, understanding ancient wisdom is something that's really conveyed through the drums. And if we look at that connection between Africa and Cuba, we certainly see that the ancestral voices are still heard in Cuba a long time after they were brought forcibly from West Africa. You know, that's a paradoxical situation if you think about it. Something as tragic as the transatlantic slave trade, which brought 12 million people forcibly to Latin America, you know, without a doubt, a crime against humanity, but at the same time, something that has produced some really beautiful outcomes: music, philosophy, culture. Yeah, these are things that are of real value and things to appreciate. And in the spirit of appreciation of that ancestral knowledge, we want to begin by paying homage to ancestors in a way that is done in Cuba with the drums, with the voice, with the dance. And then from there, we'll move forwards and unpack these bigger issues a little bit. Vamos.
Ye bara lo yure so que boda. Elegua bara o lo yuti bara mo yubago. Bara o lo yuti bara mo yubago so que boda. Elegua e cholo lo dio. Bamulan elegua e cholo lo dio. O paraguayo ege. O paraguayo ege mo vamos yubago. Elegua o kuniodo. Wolo, 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 ya tutu mambi. Wolo, wolo, elegua, ya tutu mambi. Baba. Omonia la wana mo berere bia foma che iragwo. Baba ege. La roye.
Thank you. Aloy Junco, everybody. So although I've been speaking a lot, I don't want to talk that much. We have the opportunity here to hear from people who have immersed themselves in these questions of ancestry and the questions of connection between Africa, other African communities, and overseas as well. I think this would be a good time to introduce our speakers. We have Mr. Lamine Sonko, who is an elder of the Wolof community, known in French as a griot, but in Wolof as a gewel, a traditional knowledge holder of his community, and a very prominent family, the Sing Sing family from Senegal. Maybe rather than me introduce you, Lamine, you could say a few words.
Thank you very much. My name is Lamine Sonko. I come from Senegal, West Africa. As Adrian just said, I come from a Gewel heritage. Gewels in Senegal, they are known as the eyes and the ears of our community, and they are also known as the oral historians of West African traditions. And through drumming, dancing, and singing, we preserve the history of our ancestors in terms of rhythmical sense or spiritual sense or movements, and we share those knowledge when we gather people together. And the word Gewel, which is my heritage, the word Gewel comes from the word Geu. Geu means to bring people around in the circle. So our duty is to bring people in the circle and remind them the existence of our ancestors in our everyday life. And today, as we have the topic to talk about Africa to Cuba, we'll talk a little bit more later on about the connections in culture, history, and cuisines. And right now, to do a welcoming in my community, we use the drums to call our ancestors to bear witness on what we are about to share. So that brings me to this instrument that I'm holding. Is a West African drum called djembe. Can you all say djembe? Djembe. Very good. Djembe means let us all gather in peace. So the name of the drums goes together with the tribe of people, and it's all about bringing people together. I'm going to play you a song we call, a rhythm we call Yani Mom. And Yani Mom means we are all interconnected and belongs to the higher sources. So here we go, Yani Mom. Yani Mom, buri Yalla Yani Mom, buni dundak buni deyep, Yani Mom, buri Yalla Yani Mom. Seng seng kai makasusal fai kai makasusal. Thank you.
Oh, well, my name is Aloy. I'm born and raised in Cuba, in Havana. And since I'm a baby, I've been raised in an Afro-Cuban family. My godfather, his name is Juan de Dios Ramos School, has been one of the eminence is the Yoruba community in Cuba. And I was raised into the drumming first, and then in the dancing after. And also the relationship between the everyday life with all this element of dancing and drumming. And every day is musicality, if you get to see. Since we walk with music. See, we speak with musicality. So that interaction gives that sensation of, come on, Bosede, come in, don't worry.
Come and join us, Bosede, join us.
Hey, please.
Thank you for coming. Right. Have a seat, you're just in time.
So what I was saying before, so this interaction of music and dancing gives the spirituality of everyday acting, interacting with people. Yeah? So that's how we grew up. So later on, we're going to show you a little bit of conversation between the drums, the importance between the drums, the dancing. We show you a little bit of dancing also, a little bit of singing, if we can do that too. And you're going to see how all that, at the end, it comes to your heart, and you bring that back to the person next to you. You will feel different, I'll show you.
To discuss the proverb and say hello to everybody. What do you need? Well, sorry to put you right on the spot, Miss Bosede. You've just arrived. We're just saying hello to everybody. And, well, maybe you could do us the honor of introducing yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bosede Adetifa. I run a Yoruba language class, and I have been working with Prof here, Adrian, for about 2 years now. Yeah, I am from Yoruba tribe in Nigeria. Drumming, dancing is typical of my culture, and using of proverbs to tell stories and to drive in the main point that you really want people to get. So that's really well embedded into the culture.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Lukas, por favor. Please.
I am Lukas. I am of Uruguayan descent. And I just joined to help slap a drum. Which is going to be a lot of fun. But no, it's Uruguayan culture. I have a lot of African heritage there as well. And we have candombe, which is play on from candomblé, the religion that comes from the Yoruba as well. And yeah, I just love it, and I'm here to slap. So thank you for having me.
Well, we'll put you to work in just a moment with that. But maybe to get us really rolling here, we can understand something about Yoruba land and where these drumming traditions that have moved to Cuba originate, where they come from, what some of the meanings are, how the meanings of the rhythms are encoded in drums like this. This drum is called the gangan, and what it does is communicate proverbs. The way that it works is that you squeeze it. So, you see, you can get different pitches. And so when you get a pitch out of a drum, one thing it can do is convey a well-known saying, or proverb, or a song. If I were to sing to you, Tell you what, you put your hand up if you know what song this is I'm singing. Do, 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 do. Well, not many people are putting their hand up, but you're laughing. I assume you know what song that is, yeah? Now, how do you know what song that is? Because you've heard it since you're a child, yeah? Any other reasons you might know?
It's sung once a year.
Once a year, it reminds us, doesn't it? So imagine you had other songs like that that are sung not once a year, but maybe once a week, or maybe every day. You can imagine they might get more complex, more sophisticated. And that's the case with Yoruba proverbs. When they are told, very often I've learned from Miss Bosede, my teacher of Yoruba language, that these proverbs are very commonplace in Yoruba land. People know them very well. So when they hear the song on the drum, they know what that proverb is. They know the meaning of what's being said on the drum. Maybe we should demonstrate this yafi.
Why
be
not?
okay? Yeah. Could you explain the Kabo proverb?
Oh, yes. Kabo means welcome. And a lot of time when you have occasion or you go somewhere, it's really important to say welcome. One important thing about Yoruba culture is greetings is very important. We pretty much greet for everything. The fact that you are all seated, we have a way of greeting you for sitting down. We have a way of greeting you for standing up or for holding the drum. So there's always greetings for everything. Everywhere you go, we greet. So when we have a function like this, we say, "Ẹ káàbọ̀, ṣé dáadáa lẹ dé." We don't just say hi and stop there. We extend it by asking after your well-being as well. Welcome. Did you arrive well? Is everything okay? You know? And we do ask with keen interest to know. We're not just asking for asking's sake. We want to know that you are well enough to be here. So it is káàbọ̀, and we use káàbọ̀ if I'm talking to people younger to me, I will say káàbọ̀. If I'm speaking with my mate, I will say káàbọ̀. If I'm speaking to my children, I will say káàbọ̀. But if I am speaking to an elderly person, I change it to ẹ káàbọ̀. So if I'm speaking with someone in position like the professor who is higher up in education than me, I will say ẹ. That is a sign of respect, which is well embedded in the culture. We respect. If this professor now is one day older than me, in Yoruba culture, I still have to respect him for the fact that he got here one day before me. So that's the culture. So it is káàbọ̀, ṣé dáadáa ló dé. Atin reti re means we've been expecting you. You can imagine when you arrive and people say, "Oh, we have been expecting you." It gives you that lift that yes, you are wanted here, and that's what it means. Káàbọ̀, ṣé dáadáa ló dé. Atin reti re káàbọ̀, ṣé dáadáa ló dé. And you use drum to say that as well. So, do you mind playing to this?
Well, my teacher, I'm just learning this drum, the gangan. My teacher, Olukayode, from Yoruba land, a good friend of ours, has taught me to play it. And something I have to do before I play anything is mention his name. It's part of the tradition. Olukayode, Anya Tunde, Olukayode, Anya Tunde. Now we can do it.
Yeah, that is another part of the culture. If someone has given you something, you need to reference them. Just like when you write your book, you have to reference those people that you've got some ideas from. And that's what he just did. The Olukayode is not here. He won't even know that we've done that. But that commitment, that even if it's not there, his name will forever be mentioned, that we appreciate him. So Olukayode, and now we're going to sing káàbọ̀, ṣe dáadáa ló dé, a ti ń retí rẹ. Káàbọ̀, ṣe dáadáa ló dé, a ti ń retí rẹ. Káàbọ̀, ṣe dáadáa ló dé, ẹnìkan ò bínú rẹ. Káàbọ̀, ṣe dáadáa ló dé, a ti ń retí rẹ. Káàbọ̀, ṣe dáadáa ló dé. Káàbọ̀, ṣe dáadáa ló dé. Káàbọ̀, ṣe dáadáa ló dé, a ti ń retí rẹ. Káàbọ̀, ṣe dáadáa ló dé, ẹnìkan ò bínú rẹ. Káàbọ̀, ṣe dáadáa ló dé.
Beautiful.
One of the things that's really struck me about these proverbs is the meanings that they can convey. It's not just about saying hello. There are lessons about history, about colonial societies and how colonialism unfolded in Nigeria, embedded in these rhythms. So one of my favorite proverbs is about food. It's about a kind of bush mango. And the proverb says, Mother, I like to eat bush mango. Mother, I like to eat bush mango. The child of the village will not cry about sliced bread, because mother, I like to eat bush mango. Iya unje pepe, omo okokisukun buredi. Iya unje pepe.
Ìyá ń ó jẹ̀bẹ̀pẹ̀, ìyá ń ó jẹ̀bẹ̀pẹ̀, ọmọ kò kì í sunkún búrẹ́dì. Ìyá ń ó jẹ̀bẹ̀pẹ̀, ìyá ń ó jẹ̀bẹ̀pẹ̀, ìyá ń ó jẹ̀bẹ̀pẹ̀, ọmọ kò kì í sunkún búrẹ́dì. Ìyá ń ó jẹ̀bẹ̀pẹ̀,
Iya unje pepe.
ìyá ń ó jẹ̀bẹ̀pẹ̀, ọmọ kò kì í sunkún búrẹ́dì. Ìyá ń ó jẹ̀bẹ̀pẹ̀. The story there is, as a typical village girl or boy, your food, everything comes from the farm. You get there, you go on the tree, get whatever you want from the bush. You don't struggle for bread. You know, those people that eat bread are from the city, they are the high class people. We don't worry about that. And you will never see someone from the village crying for bread. Somebody from the city might cry and say, I want bread, I want bread. Not for us, because that is really not food. You know, it cannot satisfy, because we go to the farm, we cultivate the land, we do everything. We need real food, not very light bread. So, Omoko, a village boy, will not cry for bread, but we rather get the fruits. Papaya is ibekwe. That is what it is. You get it slices, remove whatever seed is inside, and start enjoy.
There's a message in there.
Thank you.
And when we sat down and spoke about this previously, Lamine was talking with me about Senegal, a place where I was lucky to live 25 years ago for about a year. And in Senegal, the rhythms also are bound up with messages. Messages about history, not just recent, but really ancient history. Lamine, would it be okay to share some of those thoughts with everybody about that intersection of history with the rhythm?
Thank you. Yeah, in Senegal we have many different cultures, and all of them have their own drums, they have their own songs. And even the shape of the drums means totally different from village to village. And it's there for a reason, and it's there for people to also see it as something to study further. And growing up from a Gewel heritage, the drums are also what you have when you are born. The first thing when you come into the world, they play a sound, a drum rhythm that you have to listen to and connect with it. And each cultural family you meet in Senegal, they have their own rhythms. It's like an anthem, and you have to do it. You have to play that rhythm when you see them walking into a ceremony or anything. It's like welcome to country, how important it is to do in this land. Over there, it's happened through rhythms, and those knowledge system means a lot. You know, it's very old. It's a very old tradition, and in order to know the deep meaning, when you talk with elders and ask them, it's fun to dance into a rhythm, you know, it's beautiful, it's fast, it is slow, but can you tell me the language that exists within the rhythms? And one of the typical sabar drums we have in Senegal is called sabar drum. The sabar drum has 7 different sounds, and they sound like this: ran, touch, tan, bin, mbach, che, tok. Those 7 different sounds are what help every individual to know how to trace back their ancestral lineage and so forth. And those 7 different sounds from the drums is connected also to male and female energy. And those 7 different sabar drums is also connected to star constellations that connect to every single individuals in our society. So when you're walking into life, you go with this ancient Senegalese cosmovision. That cosmovision is you, the individual, you are walking, but you are connected to nature, the spiritual world, and the cosmos. So while you're walking through the realms of sounds, drumming, and dance, you are also embodying those 3 different spheres as you walk through. So you can see each rhythm you hear has layers of meaning depending on how far you want to go. I like to say to people, it's like a rabbit hole. Once you dive in, you can go further and further. And talking to Adrian, I've been doing a research and release a short documentary based on these traditions and this knowledge system. And that took me back to Senegal a couple of years ago where I sat with Lebu elders and Gewel elders to talk about these knowledge systems and how can we also take that from that ancient time and bring it right now as a conversation we're having right now and provide it for future generations. So yes, drumming has many layers and it's just very hard to talk openly about it. Maybe if you ask me specific questions, then I can just answer it as we go. But yes, the sabar drum has that meaning and connection with the cosmos. Same with the tama drum, similar to the dondo you were playing. Hearing you and Bosede talking about those rhythm language is very important to hear because it's the same thing in Senegal. We used those drums before technology arrived. They were like the mobile phones. If a fire, it's a specific drum. You play, villagers know it's fire. If it's a newborn, same thing. I like to demonstrate, if you allow me, I would like to demonstrate one rhythm we call Kujan Mat Sam Xel Dem Si Dee. Bi ngay dundu ak bi ngay dee yépp sam xel dem ci dee. It's a saying. And you know what that means? Is if a snake beats someone in the middle of the village, there is no ambulance, nobody have a phone call, and they need to help that person who is in danger, we have a rhythm to play. When you play that rhythm, if a village hear it, they play the same rhythm to pass it on. Till you hear someone who has the knowledge of helping get the venom out. When they hear that knowledge, it's mandatory. They have to go and help someone in danger. So I'm gonna play you that rhythm. So when you hear this rhythm, just know it's also like an ambulance sound heading to help somebody. All right, here you go. Kujan mat, sam xel dem ci dee. Bi ngay dund ak bi ngay dee yëpp, sam xel dem ci dee. Sama. Kujan mat, sam xel dem ci dee. Bi ngay dund ak bi ngay dee yëpp, sam xel dem ci dee. Sama. That's how the rhythm goes.
If I ever go to Senegal again, I will feel safer now.
There you go.
Keep that in mind. If you see a snake,
That's right.
make sure you're near a drummer.
That's right.
Lamine, you mentioned to me last time we spoke that
Yep.
when you've heard rhythms from Cuba, you've identified with them as I think the way you said it to me, the rhythms of my ancestors reflected back in a different accent.
That's right.
I thought that was a beautiful way to put it.
Yes, like when we're in Senegal, we hear the sounds of our ancestors echoing back still today from America, from Cuba, from Brazil, and so forth. You know, we hear the sounds come echoing back to us through a form of blues, you know, rock and roll, hip hop, you know, salsa, and so forth. So when we hear that, it's amazing because we can relate to the beat, we can relate to those sounds. But if you go to Senegal and look at the history of Senegal, Senegal is has one of the biggest slave house in West Africa called the Gore Island. That Gore Island, around 30 million slaves came through Gore to make their way out to Brazil, Cuba, America, and so forth. So when we hear the music come back, because salsa music is very popular in Senegal, people love that music because also the trading through, you know, the ocean, boats coming back and forth, musicians from Cuba and different parts of the world will come to Senegal, bring their instrument and go in town and play, you know, with local musicians. And they were having this non-verbal communications guided by our ancestral knowledge through the drums, which is beautiful. And through my research, I always say that to people. When we look at color, gender, and all of that, it can block us from reaching those higher understanding that exists within the drums. So through the drums, we can have this non-verbal communication skill we can tap into, and once we're there, we are all there as vibrations. And through vibrations, we accept rhythm, share rhythm, and connect with it. So that's how we hear the rhythm of Cuba and America echoing back from Senegal.
Thank you.
No worries.
Well, maybe we should give an example of this. The sound of drums as they are played in Cuba. These are the bata drums. There are 3 of them, as you saw. They're a family. The iya, which means mother in Yoruba. You have the itotele. The itotele is the second drum, the one who responds to the mother, and the okonkolo, the baby, who cries above the mother and the other son, the one who responds. So it's a bit like a real family. You've got the arguments going on, the baby crying on top, total chaos, but yet there's some form of coherence through it. Probably describes how this will sound, I think. So we'll just give you an example of a rhythm for Ochun. Aloy, maybe just explain something about Ochun to people so they know.
Well, Oshun is the Orisha, you can call it a god, yeah, of female beauty. She owns the river, so she lives in the river, and her color is yellow, white, gold. She's also known as the Orisha of beauty, yeah, of like Yemaya in Cuba. A lot of the women that they are pregnant, they do offering to Oshun also. A part of Yemaya, they do offering of Oshun also for the maternity also. Yeah, and there will be a conversation between the drums that they will speak about that part of Oshun. Yeah.
Okay, we'll show an idea of how that sounds. Voy a sentarme aquí un poco. Yeah. Sí. ¿Está bien, Gavin? All right. Okay, Ochun. Bolo voy a lo demo ye huele, pa mi lao su, oso ye ye, a la huete, pa mi lao su. Bolo voy a lo demo ye huele, pa mi lao su, oso ye ye, a la huete, pa mi lao su. Bolo voy a lo demo ye huele, pa mi lao su. hablar de esto, de los tambores, como hablan.
Oh, vamos para Chango.
No, después vamos a ver la película. pero-
Oh, well. So back to the drumming. So as Professor Adrian mentioned before, they got different names. So Iya, Miss Mada, Itotele, Anokonkolo. And they all have different conversation, and to the conversation, it becomes a rhythm, like a polyrhythmic rhythm. And as you can see, it's very beautiful, very fulfilling. Imagine in a house full of people, yeah? And the drumming going insane. There is a singing, and the singing coming to you so beautifully that your soul vibrates. And that's a way you walk in the street. Especially it makes you breathe. That is so important today in our real life. Yeah? So, and in there is no mobile phones, there is no computer, there is nothing. It's pure, pure soul right there.
Right.
Yeah? And that's what the conversation of these drums, it make you, it take you to.
Thank you, Aloy. That rhythm was for Ochun, the water goddess, goddess of streams, of sensuality, and the language, Yoruba language, through the Cuban accent, as Lamine puts it, speaks of her characteristics, of her bracelets, of her beauty, of her ability to help people to become happy and to become rich. It's one of the things that those words speak of. Now, we're going to give you a sense of the context here with a short movie that filmmaker and film scholar Claudia Sandberg has brought along to show us.
Yeah, so thank you very much for watching this, and I could not find out for what purpose Sarah made this film. As I said before, it was the first film she made when she became or joined the production company, the GAI, the state-owned production company, the only one. But at the same time, it is. Yeah, it's an interesting project, right? Because it's hard to know what's the purpose. It feels to me like it could be a day from morning to night. The celebrations, as well as starting with the history that resonates throughout that day on the street, everywhere, in celebrations, in also what comes now. She says at some point that the future's coming. And that all of a sudden becomes a bit, when these girls are in all of their uniform or coming out, and then and kind of the next cut then is, you go back to the street and there's someone about to cross the street and someone else holds him back. So, that was quite an interesting scene as well. So in that sense, I think it can give us a lot. It's also documentation of the time, and I hope we have some time for you to, kind of. We would like to hear some impressions from the class, from everyone. Sure. Yeah, from your perspective.
Well, thank you, Claudia, for bringing the films. I think it's really fascinating to see how film, the medium of film, can complement our understandings of these processes. I agree. I would love to hear what some people think. Maybe, Aloy, you are from Cuba. Do you have any impressions about this?
Oh, man.
Put you on the spot again?
Well, it's been way before my time, so I wasn't even born by then. But look, I'm from Havana. I'm not from Santiago. And the city is very different, The similarity is that we are very loud. We love party. We love alcohol. We love, feeling good about it. We love music. We love dancing. So I was talking before we were talking about the similarity a lot between, for example, the tumba francesa. That is pretty much one of the main religion that is in Santiago and in Guantanamo too, but in this case in Santiago. So we were talking the similarity from Senegal to this drumming, But apart this tumba francesa, this drumming was the one giving origin to salsa. So from that went to Nengon, from Nengon went to Changui, from Changui went to son, from son went to salsa. That's how it was going to. Yeah? So, and there's a lot of drumming, how the drumming take place into everything that is there. And to all different style of musicality, because it went tumba francesa, but also they did conga, also they did another style of music, it's called Mozambique, from Mozambique. So it went through all these different styles, And the drumming also, we were talking about this oricha of the drumming. It's called Chango. Yeah, and Chango is like another god, another oricha of a drumming. And Chango also is the oricha of male virility, the oricha of justice, the oricha of the thunder. Yeah. So what happened is a lot of dancing that probably is making situation there. So. Okay. No, don't worry, be happy. So the whole situation of Chango that I was saying before is the origin of male virility, thunder. So later on, and I see Adrian preparing his drum, so I'm sure I'm going to be dancing because I know him already. So the whole similarity of the dancing is the action of bringing the thunder, the justice to earth. Yeah? And the name is Chango. His color is red and white. Now, also that we were talking about Ochun in Santiago, there is the biggest church for Ochun. It's called La Iglesia del Cobre. Yeah? So, and the syncretism, because what happened is, because the master, the Spanish, colonized Cuba, yeah, and they brought the slave, from Africa to Cuba. But when they got to Cuba, they were not allowed to adore their own orisha, their own god. So what happened was, there was mandatory for them to adore Catholicism or Christianism, depend of the master, the house of the master. So in this case, what happened was they had in front of you guys was a picture of, in this case, La Caridad del Cobre. Yeah, that is the syncretism of Ochun in the Yoruba language. Yeah, so Catholicism will be La Caridad del Cobre. Behind, they were putting their own gods, Ochun. the same thing happened with Shango. In one side they had Shango, yeah, and in front they had Santa Barbara. Now, the Catholicism until today, for us to be able to initiate in the Yoruba tradition, we have to be baptized in the Catholic Church. That's how far it's been going to. Yeah? So, okay. Yeah. I'm going to show you a little bit of Shango, the dancing of Shango.
Sure, okay. You said it.
Oh, man. All right.
Okay, Django. Bolinche, bolinche, bolinche o baitola.
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 Were, were, inayo, inayo, kuyeye.
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 Oh, 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 kuyeye.
Were, were, inayo, inayo, 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 kuyeye.
Oh, 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 kuyeye.
Were, were, inayo, inayo, kuyeye.
Were, were, inayo, inayo, kuyeye.
Cambio, sigue. So that's Django. Aloy, the movements you were doing.
Yeah, what I was saying before. So, when I was doing this movement, it was bringing the thunder to earth and to justice. And sometimes, because I said before, the Shango is the Orisha of the male virility, the thunder also, he brings it to show you the power of the male virility. Yeah? And when I was doing this, yeah, they say that Shango, with his movement, he moved the world. So this was about moving the whole world with his movement too, and progression. So.
By the way, it's worth mentioning that Aloy runs the Cubaneo dance school. And if anyone's interested in learning salsa or some of these movements, then he's there. I think Mondays, Tuesdays.
Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I mean, like on the street, 341, like on the street. You're very welcome. Door is always open.
Yeah. Claudia, you mentioned that you'd be interested in hearing other impressions of the film. I think that would be interesting to hear from an African perspective as well. I wonder, Lamine, Miss Bosede, any thoughts on the film that we watched?
Sure. One thing with Africans is we love music. We do music, we do dancing and drumming, not just for the sake of it, but for our own health as well. It is good for your mental health, and that is a reality. You know, if you've been sitting for such a long time, please everybody just change your position. Just move. Just move. Do something. Just do something. Can you imagine that? Look at that. And what do I get from that? I see people smiling. That is what drumming and dancing does. It helps you get out of your low mood. It's good. In the movie, what I've seen there, I saw a lot of dances, a lot of music. Even when they were working, when they were busy with business and all sorts of things, you can hear the song coming through. And you know what that does? It opens up the lungs to function well. It helps improve your muscle tones as well. It does a lot of things. And the Yoruba believe strongly in this. And this is why, even after having our meal at night, we have games before going to bed. We have our elders telling us story. And they tell you this story and you get your brain working. You get busy. You start thinking, and they had proverbs to read that will get you thinking. It's like doing Sudoku. You know, what is that? What does it mean? And everybody start thinking. They get you thinking. You see, a lot of people employ people these days. Who they want to employ are those people that can think. If you can think, you get a job. You know, that's reality. So Yoruba will use that, everything to go with music. In that movie, I could see music, I could see dances, and even when you can clearly see that people are going through hard times, you still see them coming together as a community, smiling, being happy, but they still have problems. It doesn't mean they don't have problems. They do, but they throw the problem away and they enjoy the moment. Yoruba do enjoy the moment. But it doesn't mean they don't have problems. They do. You see people that do not have clothes. They can even go ahead and borrow clothes to put on so that they can look good to you. And then they dance, and they are happy at that moment. And that's what I could see from that movie, that look, trying to make ends meet, trying to enjoy the moment, dancing, going to school, and you can see how they build stories. They build the history right from something. Somebody was coming, and there's this expectation. There's this anxiety that comes with it. Oh, who is this person? What's this woman going to look like? What is it going to happen? An African person coming or what? And at the end of the day, there's joy. That person has arrived. It goes back to that welcome. Ekabo, Shedadalede, Atin Retire, we've been expecting you. Welcome. And then everything was normal again. So I guess it's all about enjoying your moment and know that dances is good. And if you want to lose weight, join this class because it helps. You know, how many people have started dancing classes just because they want to encourage people to lose weight? Yeah. It shows, and that comes from Africa. So join the class.
Thank you, Bosede. Beautiful. Looking at the film, I love the storytelling aspect of it, taking us a while back, you know, to see what was happening in Cuba. And as I was saying before, to see the echoing back, you know, to hear the sound echoing back. In that case, in the film, we see it visually as well. But also seeing the diversity of people in Cuba that came out of Africa. They were from different parts of Africa. By hearing those chants, I hear sometimes chants that sounded Ghanaian. I heard some sounds chanting that sounded Bambara. So you can hear that similarity, you know, in there. And those commonalities is something very important to talk about when it's come to storytelling. You know, in this form, we're doing it through rhythms and dance, and she did it wonderfully through film. And I think it's very important to keep all the stories, and tell it for posterity. So it's wonderful to see that, and yeah, to also remind us that once people were taken outside of Africa, and they're in Cuba or any other parts, they have to come together and revive their belief system, revive their cultural system. In my understanding, there was no Bambaras or Nigerians or Senegalese. They were just black people.
Yeah.
And when they come together, they just work out how to bring their cultures. And also hearing that drum called French, you can see that, you know, there is no traditional drums in Africa called French, but it was maybe to please a master or please somebody. It's important to also know that cultures have changed to make ends meet, or to just try and make a situation work out. So yeah, thank you for sharing it. It's lovely to add into the conversation. Thank you.
Thanks.
For me to watch this film make me want to go to Cuba. Maybe not that time, because it's impossible. But yeah, it remind me a lot of Uruguay. A lot. Yeah, just looking at it, I was saying to Aloy while just coming up here, how much the Uruguayans respected the Cubans, how much they had to endure more than a lot of places in South America and Central America. We actually named a lot of areas like Matanzas or Havana. We name a lot of our group of drummers based off these cities in Cuba, because we just respected them so much and saw that they were still being slaves when Uruguay didn't have that anymore, abolished the slavery. So yeah, just watching that kind of course, for me, give a lot of respect for the African people. Obviously, it's our people. I know I don't have the color, but it's our people anyway, you know, in the heart. So yeah, this is something we love as Uruguayan people as well. So.
And the good thing is about adaptability. The African adapt to any situation so quickly. And the drum and the raw music play in our lives is very significant, because, you know, even sitting down there and just listening to music, and you can tell a lot of story through that, which is really amazing.
And at the end of the day, we can be connected, not even just Africa. Like we all are here.
Everybody.
That's a beautiful thing of Melbourne, no? How multicultural Melbourne is. So this is a point that is not about African, it's not about Asian, it's not about Latin anymore. It's about the connection that we have with each other. It doesn't matter from where. That's a whole beautiful thing. So when we are in the party, for example, in a drumming party, and we have everybody from, doesn't matter any nationality, but we having the same language of emotion.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's what comes down to.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's the connection.
Well, we're very lucky to have the four of you here making these connections for us. And I think maybe it's an opportunity to hear what people might think. I also want to introduce Ralph Newmark, who is the convener of the Round Table Series. And we still have a few minutes. Maybe, Lamine, you could tell us, maybe show us how the tama works.
No, this is tama, similar to the dondo you were playing before. This is a very ancient Senegalese drum, or in West Africa, they come in different sizes, big to small. The Walo people of Senegal use this drum, and they're amazing at it. They're the people of the land, and if you look at this drum, it has goanna skin on it. So the goanna skin is the closest animal that can mimic the human voice. So this drum was, carefully carved to make sure that it could pass on messages. So at the start, I played Yani Mom, who asked permission to the ancestors. Culturally, you have to do the same when you're finishing as well. So, sorry, as I tune the drums, it may sound a bit loud. Here you go. There you go. Very similar to what Adrian was saying before. You just different sounds. Yeah? So here we go. I'm gonna play you what we call tagumbar. Tagumbar is mandatory. Before you play drums to random people hearing the sound, you have to ask permission to the, ancestors, and also sending good intentions for those who are hearing the sounds, because it's not every day people are willing to hear your beautiful sound. Sometimes they may not be into it. So you're asking forgiveness even before you do them wrong. So here we go.
Well, thank you. We're going to say goodbye with our own send-off. This is a rhythm about conversation for the final 3 or 4 minutes we have on the bata drums. And feel free, Aloy, to Lamine, to join us on Bosede, please.
Bosede. Yeah.
I'll stay here.
Da una derecha.
Sí. Well, this brings us to the end. Thank you, everyone, for joining us online, in person. Let's remember, as we go forth into wherever we're going, to remember where we're treading and the ancestral lines, the connections to spirit, to earth, to each other that come with the drum, but also just come with our daily lives, the way we approach the world. Thank you all. We'll see my students next week and the rest of you at the next round table. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.